Hi, boys and girls. We are ready for day 2. You don't need anything today because we will be doing the read aloud where you're going to listen. And then you're going to add answers to your Google Doc. You will go back and forth from your Google Doc that was on Canvas. Our agenda today, we're going to go over our objective. We have our success criteria. We're going to read aloud Mango, Abuela, and Me. We're going to do an I do, a we do, and a you do about point of view. And then we have our closer and reflection. The text today we'll be reading, Mango, Abuela, and Me, is realistic fiction. In realistic fiction, we have made-up events that could really happen. So it could happen in real life. The characters, even though they are made up, they act and talk like real people. So it's a story that could be real, but it's actually made up. The things could happen, but the people in the story, the characters, are made up. We're going to be working on realistic fiction today because on our September Evaluate, we struggled with this question. It says, think about how the boy feels when he tells his family that corn snakes like to escape. How do his feelings most likely compare to how his family is feeling when he tells them this information? So if you remember reading about a boy and he's telling his family that corn snakes like to escape, we know the boy felt nervous, but his family feels scared. So that is something we're working on in our Evaluate. So realistic fiction, something that could really happen. We're going to be focusing on point of view. One character may think reading a book each day is a way to become a better reader, while another character may think it is too much work. To determine the point of view, you should ask yourself if the character is telling the story. If the character is telling the story, then the story is first person and the character is telling the story, we'll use words like I, me, and my. So if I'm telling the story, I'm going to use words like I, my, and me. That is the first person point of view. If the character is not telling the story, then if the character is not in the story, then it's a third person or someone else is telling the story. So the character, when the author refers to the character, the author will say something like he, she, or they. We call this third person. So the person in the story is telling the story, and third person, someone else is telling the story. If the story is in first person, you will only know how the character is feeling. If it is told in third person, you will know how all the characters are feeling. Someone's point of view is the way he or she sees things happen. Characters have different point of views. So remember, a story is written in first person. The point of view has a character in the story is the narrator. You're going to look for words like I, me, and my. So this person's telling the story and she's in the story. In third person, a story written in third person point of view has an outside narrator. The narrator uses words like he, she, and they. An outside narrator can tell about all the characters. So he's the narrator, but he is not in the story. So this is third person. First person, she's the narrator, the one telling the story, and she is in the story. Okay? We're going to stop there. And your first code word is view. V-I-E-W. So pause and put view in your Google Doc. Again, it's spelled V-I-E-W. Welcome back, boys and girls. We're going to be reading Mango, Abuela, and Me. Please make sure you're being good listeners. Predicting it's about a family. Looks like somebody's coming to visit because there are suitcases. I wonder what's going to happen. She comes to us in winter, leaving behind her sunny house that rested between two snaking rivers. Her old place was too much for just one, Mammy tells me as we make room in my dresser for her clothes. And too far away for us to help, Pappy adds. Abuela belongs with us now, Mia, but I still feel shy when I meet this faraway grandmother. Why does Mia think, what does Mia think about Abuela coming? Is Mia scared? Is she nervous? Is she sad? Or is she hopeful? I noticed in this last sentence here it says, I still feel shy when I meet this faraway grandmother. Grandmother's coming to stay, but she lives too far away, doesn't come very often. So I know Mia doesn't know her grandma very well. So could she feel scared? Maybe. Feel nervous? Maybe. Could she feel sad? I don't think she's sad. If she's shy, she's not sad. Hopeful. I don't see any hints that tell me she could be hopeful. She's not wishing for anything. But she could be scared and she could be nervous. Let me reread to see. She comes to us in winter, leaving behind her sunny house that rested between two snaking rivers. Her old place was too much for just one, Mammy tells me, as we make room in my dresser for her clothes. And too far away for us to help, Pappy adds. Abuela belongs with us now, Mia, but I still feel shy when I meet this faraway grandmother. So I know when I feel shy if I'm meeting someone that I don't really know, and I'm wondering, is this person going to like me? Am I going to like them? I'm not really scared. I'm more nervous. I think the answer is nervous. She feels nervous about this grandma. So I would like you to pause here and on your or in your Google Docs, I want you to answer this question. And if you're listening, you will know the answer easily. Welcome back. Hen pun pun. Poppy unfolds Abuela's bed and slides it right next to mine. You will get to know each other, he says. When I show Abuela my new book, she can't unlock the English words. We can only look at the pictures and watch Edmund race on his wheel. Then, just before we turn out the light, she pulls out two things tucked inside the satin pocket of her suit. A feather, una pluma, from a wild parrot that roosted in her mango trees, and a snapshot, una fotografia, of a young man with Poppy's smile. To Abuelo, she says, climbing into bed. Snuggled in my pajamas, I smell flowers in her hair, sugar and cinnamon baked into her skin. That night, I dream of a red bird circling in the sky. Why do you think Abuela has a bird feather in her suitcase? It's a feather, una pluma, from a wild parrot that roosted in her mango trees, and a snapshot, un fotografia, of a young man with Poppy's smile. Why do you think Abuela has a bird feather in her suitcase? I'd like you to pause and go to your Google Doc or your Google Docs and go ahead and answer this question. Why do you think Abuela has a bird feather in her suitcase? Pause and come back when you're ready. Welcome back. I think Abuela had a bird feather in her suitcase because it reminded her of home. Because it said the parrot roosted in her mango tree. If it was her mango tree, it was probably on her property or by her house. So I think that feather reminded her of home. The rest of the winter, while Mommy and Poppy are at work, Abuela waits for me to get home from school. Then we bundle up in thick socks and handmade sweaters to walk to the park and toss bread to the sparrows. My Espanol is not good enough to tell her the things an abuela should know, like how I am the very best in art and how I can run as fast as the boys. And her English is too poquito to tell me all the stories I want to know about Abuelo and the rivers that run right outside their door. With our mouths as empty as our bread baskets, we walk back home and watch TV. How does Mia feel about not being able to communicate with Grandma? Herself? How do you think she's feeling? It says here she doesn't really know Spanish, or she can't tell Grandma about things at school, like how she's a great artist or how she can run as fast as the boys. And on this page, it tells us that Grandma's English is too poquito. So Grandma doesn't know a lot of English, and Mia can't really ask Grandma questions. Mia would like to ask Grandma about the rivers that ran by her door and know stories about Grandma, but they can't communicate with each other because they don't really know each other's languages very well. So how do you think Mia's feeling about not being able to communicate with Grandma? Think about how you would feel if you weren't able to communicate with someone you'd like to. Go ahead and pause this video, and you're going to tell me what you think. Welcome back. So let's look at this page. We're trying to figure out why or how Amina is feeling about not being able to speak with Abuela. Well, I know when I want to speak with someone, it makes me happy, but she can't speak with Abuela, so she's probably not happy. She says here their mouths are empty, so they're not talking. Is she angry? I don't think she's angry. I think she's more upset or sad. Upset or sad that she cannot talk with Abuela because she probably wants to hear those stories about Abuela when she was younger. So Mia feels upset. Abuela and I can't understand each other, I whisper to Mammy. Things will get better, Mammy says. Remember how it was with Kim? Kim is my best friend at school. When she was new, our whole class helped teach her English words. Now Miss Wilson sometimes has to say, please be quiet, girls. Others are working. After school the next day, while Abuela and I are making meat pies for our snack, I pretend I am Miss Wilson. Dough, I say, pointing to the ball. Abuela says dough, masa, and rolls it flat. Masa, I say. She drops a spoonful of meat in place. Carne, carne, I say, meat. Pasas, raisin. Aceite, oil. I'd like you to pause the video, and we have our second code word here. Our second code word is cook. C-O-O-K. So you're going to type that in. Again, the secret word is cook. C-O-O-K. Welcome back. Let's keep reading. Then I remember the word cards we taped in our classroom to help Kim. So while Abuela fries our empanadas, I put up word cards too, until everything is covered, even Edmund. Soon we are playing OED, hear and say, all around the house. But that night she still calls my pillow Apollo, and she says Edmund is a gangster. We'll keep practicing, I whisper. How does the game hear and say help Abuela learn English? So notice they have labeled everything in the house with the English words. And Mia is showing Grandma a pillow that has the word pillow on it. So how does that game hear and say help Abuela learn English? Go ahead and pause the video and type that into your Google Doc. How does the game hear and say help Abuela learn English? When you're ready, come on back. Welcome back. I think hear and say is helping Abuela learn English because she can see the words, she hears Mia say them, and she's going to eventually learn those words too. I also think Abuela is going to help teach Mia the Spanish words for those English words. So they're really helping each other. Let's keep reading to find out what happens. But the next day I cannot practice with Abuela. After all, Edmund has run out of his favorite seeds. So Mammy and I have to ride the bus downtown to buy more. Sometimes there are kittens sleeping in the pet shop window. But when we arrive this time, something even better is behind the glass. I wonder what will be behind the glass. Look, I say, the window has become a jungle filled with birds. And right in the middle is a parrot staring at us with black bean eyes. I press my nose to the glass, thinking of the red feather Abuela gave me. Let's buy him, I tell Mammy. But Mia, you already have Edmund, Mammy says. Oh, not for me, I say. For Abuela, like the parrot that lived in her mango trees. He can keep her company when I'm at school. When we bring him home to Abuela, she says, Un loro, a parrot. We name him Mango because his wings are green, orange, and gold, like the fruit. During the day, Abuela teaches him how to give beaky kisses and to bob his head when she sings Los Politos to him. Buenos tardes, Mango, Abuela says, opening his cage door when I get home from school. Good afternoon, I say, and give him a seed. Soon Mango calls to me even before we open his cage. Buenos tardes, he says when I open the door. Good afternoon. Abuelo, Mango, and I practice new words every day. Mi Espanol gets faster, and Abuela and Mango learn the days of the week, all the months of the year, and the names of coins. How did he learn all that? Papi asks when we show him all that Mango can do. Abuela winks at me and gives Mango a piece of banana peel and all. A banana peel and all. Practice, she says. Before long, Abuela asks me how to say harder things too, so she can talk to the neighbors who stop by. Has the mailman come? It is chilly today. Can I get you some cookies and lemonade? Soon, when friends stop by to see Mango's latest tricks, they can understand everything Abuela says. I would like you to pause here. We're going to have your third secret word. Your third secret word is parrot. Listen carefully. Parrot is P-A-R-R-O-T. Parrot. If you need to write it down so you can type it later, that is fine. The secret word is parrot. Parrot. But best of all now, when Abuelo and I are laying next to each other in our beds, our mouths full of things to say, I tell her about my Bueno Dia and show her my best pintura of mango. Abuelo reads my favorite book with only a little help, and she tells me new stories about Abuelo, who could dive for river stones with a single breath and weave a roof out of palms. I draw pictures for her. She still misses their old house, she says, but now only a little bit. Mango listens to us from his perch until my eyes grow heavy. Hasta mañana, Abuelo, I say. Abuelo kisses me. Good night, Mia. Hasta mañana, good night, Mango calls, and soon we all fall asleep. So let's think back about this page. What does Mia think about Abuelo at the end of the story? What does Mia think about Abuelo at the end of the story? Go ahead and pause the video and answer this question. Welcome back. I want you to think about this question. How would you feel about not being able to talk to your grandma? How would you feel about not being able to talk with your grandma? Go ahead and pause the video and go ahead and type in your answer on your Google Doc. I'll see you when you get back. Welcome back. So think about, what is the point of this story? Is Mia telling the story? Are there words like I, my, and me? Is it in first person? Or is someone else telling the story who's not in the story? Is this third person? Someone else is telling a story about Abuela, Mia, and her family. Let's look back at the last page. But best of all, now Abuela and I see the word I here, are lying next to each other in our beds and our mouths are full. I tell her about my, I heard a lot of I's and my's. This story is first person. Mia is telling the story. Mia is telling a story about of when her grandmother and her could not communicate and how they learned how to communicate with each other. Think about this. This is a challenging question that I'm going to have you write on your Google Docs. If we revised the story and told it from Abuela's point of view, how would the story be different? Ooh, that's a tough one. Think about that. So now Mia isn't telling the story. Abuela is telling the story. How would the story be different? Think about that and add it to your Google Doc. And when you're finished, you can submit your Google Doc. I look forward to seeing your answers. Have a wonderful day.